When there's conflict and that starts to happen, it just really makes for a not fun day. And we want to have fun on a wedding day. That's why we do this. It's not because we do it because it's a job. So for me to have any kind of conflict is like, why? It doesn't need to be like this. Welcome back. Today we're going to be chatting all about wedding vendor etiquette, especially on a wedding day.
A wedding is filled with vendors. It's a whole team of people that are working together, including the couple, to make sure that the day runs as smooth as possible.
And making sure that it's more of a collaboration, and just chat about kind of what expectations, at least from our point of view, that we might have versus other vendors might have, and just sort of maybe some scenarios that we've run into where it's been a miscommunication or just expectations were not met on either side.
I'm excited to go through those examples because that's what we come home to, and sometimes have a little hot tub therapy session and break down the day and go, wow, that could have been much better if X, Y, Z happened.
I think people don't really talk about too much because it's just sort of something that you don't want to sort of talk badly about another vendor. And it's not that we're here to trash anybody. As with everything, things are evolving, things are changing, and the world is less forgiving than it used to be, in the sense of everybody has to kind of do a lot of things and has a lot of things that are important to them that they want to capture or get done in certain scenarios, especially like for an officiant, they have a certain way that they do things and they are going to kind of do that on repeat. And same with the photographer, we do things a certain way and we kind of do that on repeat. A DJ, same thing, like they set up a certain way and again, they do it on repeat. So I think that everybody has their way of doing things, but making sure that we can all do it in a way that's not harmful is best, I guess is the best word to use here.
And one of the main points that really makes a day either bad or good is the communication between everyone. And that communication doesn't always start with the wedding day itself. It can start even beforehand. Yeah. And that good etiquette, as in if you're a videographer and you're plugging into audio, maybe you need to reach out to the DJ to figure out what kind of wires you need or what kind of plugs he's going to have available. Same with the venue, if the venue is the one providing that kind of service. Especially with the videographer and photographer, we're lucky because we do it together, and obviously if we need to talk about something, we're right here. But when you show up on a wedding day and you're either providing one of the two services, it can be difficult to mesh your styles together and really come out feeling like, oh, I didn't get this, or they gave me enough time to do this, because it's a fast-paced world. A lot of people want a lot of different things covered in a short amount of time. If everyone has their routine that they do, sometimes it doesn't mesh well with somebody else's routine, and there needs to be that communication and compromise between the two.
I think that word compromise is the best word that we can use in these situations. However, we've run into situations where it definitely never really felt like a compromise on our end, in the sense that we were compromising and the other person was not. There's been all kinds of things that have happened, or even a venue that just has like very different rules than perhaps we've run into in the past. That's the part that people take for granted, is that if you haven't been somewhere or you haven't worked with certain people, you need to kind of go above and beyond if you want to make sure that your day kind of runs smoothly. As a vendor, is to understand who's going to be there, right? Like part of what we do when we work with clients is ask them who their vendors are a month out from their wedding. And if for whatever reason there was somebody on there that I felt was going to be a big important part of the day, but we didn't know them, I would definitely want to reach out to them and just see like how we can work together. And I think we're also really good at sort of telling our clients that if we haven't worked with certain people, we will do that. Or on the day, we'll also just like have a chance to chat with those people, which we don't normally. We just make sure that that happens so that we're not missing, an opportunity to really get to know them and how they work and what they do differently, so that hopefully we can have a good game plan going into sort of the important parts of the day.
You can even go as far as communicating with the venue about drone usage. We've had some before that have had multiple weddings on the property, and they typically didn't let drone usage happen, but because we reached out and told them that we would only use it at a certain time, and they gave us direction on how we can use the drone, which gave us an advantage compared to other people because they showed up and they were just told, no, you can't use it. But going that extra mile in order to communicate effectively with vendors can really open up doors.
A few ways that we've been successful at pre-planning these types of events with our couple and or planners or other vendors that have been involved is by first chatting with the couple, seeing who's involved, and understanding their vision. I think that that's really important. When you first meet a couple, they may not really know what the look or feel of the day is going to be, but generally about a month or 2 months out from the wedding, they really understand who's going to be there, what everybody's doing, what rules are going to be covered, and then we can then do our own research and see, okay, well, if we look on Instagram, we see what this planner does or what this, florist does or hair, whatever. We can kind of get an idea from people just by doing our own research. However, once we know what the couple's vision is and what they really want and sort of the vibe for their day, that is really important as well for us to be able to do some pre-planning with, the other vendors that are involved. So if, for instance, the vibe is very laid back and they want to have a really good time and they want to have fun, we can't have a schedule that's going to be like jam-packed every 2 minutes with different types of things happening, cramming it all in as short of timeline as possible. I found that our couples understand, like, if they want to kind of be able to do all of that, there needs to be some pre-planning involved, and everybody needs to be on the same page when it comes to that stuff. And how long it takes me, say, to capture getting ready and how long it might take somebody else is going to vary from photographer to photographer. Even just the way a planner puts together a timeline could vary in terms of how much time they might need. We've seen it where it's been like a 3-hour getting ready when we don't need 3 hours for getting ready. But I've also seen it where it's a 30-minute getting ready, and we can kind of do that, but there's not a lot of room for error in a 30-minute getting ready. You're going to have to give up something in that regards. When you choose a vendor, it's important as well that they mesh, and I think that's where we've run into a lot of that etiquette friction, I guess you can call it, is that what our style was and what we were trying to achieve didn't match some of the vendors that they had chosen. And I'm not saying that if you choose a country DJ, but we don't really like country music as a photographer, that's going to affect your day. But if you choose a photographer perhaps that doesn't include a lot of movement in their posing, and then you choose a videographer that has more high energy, more movement in all of their videos, well, that's just not going to work. And that's kind of, I think, what we ran into the most, is that this style was just so different that there was a lot of friction when it came to the amount of time that things were taking, that we knew that we could do a lot faster because we could get them to do a cute pose, get the shot that we needed, and then kind of move on to some movement, because that's the way that we edit and that's the way that people fall in love with our work, because it's different and it's fun and it's high energy. You can't do that if the photographer is literally having them stand in one place and doing the same pose for 5 minutes or plus at a time and using multiple lenses and different variations, but they're just still standing there. It just doesn't work. And I think that it's important for people to understand that the different styles really does make a difference in terms of that etiquette. And then even if I found had those conversations with a photographer or a videographer, sometimes it just didn't always mean that they understood where we were coming from, nor did they, it just felt like there was friction in the sense of they weren't understanding that we are there and we are just as important as them doing a job that the couple hired us to do. And for whatever reason, it just happened that we just never felt like we were that super important in those situations. And I think that's where I'm sure a lot of vendors can relate to that, where they've just felt like sort of second fiddle, if that makes sense, compared to other people.
Yeah, not only the different styles, there might be conflicting styles and you might love all the different vendors. The thing is, it's just going to take twice as long to get what you want, which then rushes everything else, and nobody wants that.
We're trying to deliver a certain final product, and it's very hard for us to deliver a product that matches our style if they're not doing or it's not reflective of what it is that we need them to do. The way that we've been able to kind of build a name for ourselves is that we get our clients to do a lot of fun things. You know, they get those beautiful moments captured, but they also get like the fun in between to bring the energy up and just sort of give that more like party vibe, I would say. There are people out there that we've worked with, especially, that's just not what they bring to the table. And as you know, people don't just do these things naturally. You know, I think I hate that term where it's like I'm just a candid person, documentary or a candid person. I don't give any direction. I just kind of stand off and let them do their thing. I don't do that. I just never been able to, because I realize that just doesn't happen. People aren't naturally doing all these fun things without me telling them, hey, do this fun thing, or try this cool idea, or throw him in the air, or walk, you know, like funny, or dance towards me. I mean, there's so many things that I can think of that I ask people to do to get the, like, you know, for instance, this year I asked the bridal party to do piggybacks. They wouldn't just do that. We had to ask them to do it. And I think it looked really cool, and it was fun, and it was different. And it's not going to be for everybody. So if you're hiring, you know, 2 different styles, you need to make sure that you understand, like you said, if there's enough time to do that, but also thinking about like the time of year. Sometimes there just really isn't time to have like 2 photo sessions or whatever at the same time, right? So something's going to give, I think, in those situations. And that's sadly the reality about working with, you know, some vendors that just don't want to compromise.
And to piggyback on that, sharing the space where you have the best angle of a specific shot as well between photographer and videographer. I know we're talking a lot about photo video, but I feel like they work so closely together all day that they are just bound to have the most friction on the day. When sunset is happening, for example, and there's a great shot, but you have to be standing at a specific location, sharing that spot with your photo and video team is essential for all of you to get the best shot. A lot of the times the photographer in the past has been the lead, so typically they would go and shoot, and then when they're done they say, okay, I'm done. The couple kind of relaxes, gets out of their pose, and we just discuss about where we're gonna go to next. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, is when I'm working with a photographer. You're pretty good at it. There's nothing worse that you're just getting a good shot with video, you're coming at it at a nice angle, and then as soon as the photographer says, okay, I got everything I need, they just stop. And that's very natural for people to just put their arms back down and be like, okay, like let's chat again, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it really does ruin some beautiful moments sometimes when you're in the thick of it, you're getting beautiful shots, and then it just ends.
Even if we've like had a conversation with them, like, hey, before you finish, can you just let us like blah, blah, blah. I've had some photographers just, you know, because I shoot video as well. I think I should be clear on that. I'm a photographer, but I also shoot video. So I understand both sides. Is that, you know, we've had it where they just don't get it. They don't like, even though we'll say, hey, can we just get this shot or whatever, they'll forget by the time, you know, the shot's over, and in their mind, they're already thinking of the next shot. Like, I get it. Like, I see both sides. Is that, like, for me, as I'm shooting something, I'm thinking about the next one. So it's hard for me to like, oh wait, hold on. You need a shot. Keep remembering the next shot that I want, and then, you know, have you get your shot. And I think also I'm just like chick, 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 getting this to whatever, you know, photos that I need in the different varieties. But with you, it's like you have to get like a whole movement involved. You have to get like a whole like 5 to 10 seconds. Sometimes that's hard, especially if, like you said, you're not in the right spot with the good lighting or whatever it is. It's going to take some time, right, to do that.
And I think that's what photographers like to do, is move fast, especially how we work, is you get the shots that you need, you move the couple to a new location, and then you pose them and you get the shots you need. But for video, even the transition between one pose to the next, especially when we're walking, we love getting them to hold hands, be playful with each other, and that may eat up a bit more time, which the photographer maybe doesn't like. In the end, compromise is probably the best word to describe this, is that we're all here to do our job. You just have to have have that balance between the two.
It's hard, right? And I think the other thing that we have to consider is other vendors such as planners or DJs and stuff, because as much as we talk about how that photo video dynamic can be full of conflict, there also can be conflicts when it comes to like dinner service and the timing of that, especially when we're looking at like a fall wedding where we have a tight timeline. That friction when the kitchen is trying to like get everything organized, and I mean, kudos to them. I know how hard and difficult that is, but having that conversation openly with your couple and saying like, hey, don't let the kitchen wait for us, send the food out, even if we're not here because we're getting our sunset photos, just keep our food warm. I think that was also something that we've run into some venues that just don't want to do that. They really don't want to feed anybody before the couple, and I understand that, but in certain situations, that's literally when there's the best lighting. And, you know, so we have to have that compromise, you know, when it comes to that, when, especially on a couple's wedding day, and at the end of the day, it's their choice. Like if you don't want to feed anybody until the couple is sitting down, but it's going to mean that dinner is an extra 30 minutes behind or 45 minutes behind, and then now they have to pay for photo video to stay later or the DJ to start later or whatever it is, like it's costing them money. So my opinion is that if they aren't happy with that, the couple needs to voice that they're okay with them serving it. I feel like that's just probably one of the things that we run into when it comes to that side as well. What happens when conflict is happening on a wedding day and the couple, like when do we tell the couple? Is that even a thing? I think that we've run into that a few times where it's been pretty terrible. The other vendors are being difficult and just making our job so much harder than it needs to be. I think that's the hard part about what we do, is that we know when vendors who work well together work really well together and it's extremely smooth, versus working with a vendor who's just like making everything difficult. I find that it really does sort of affect us and like our work. And there's been a few situations where I know exactly the situation where I just have to like take a minute and like go and do something else and like get a break from those vendors.
Go and do something else.
Like go set up, you know, or go capture a cocktail hour. Like if you see me asking to go set up, you know that it means that I just need a break from said vendor. Or if I choose not to do a prep, you know, with a certain vendor, because like I love doing bridal prep. Like how often have I ever asked to do groom prep when I'm shooting video? Like one time.
When is the last time you did groom prep?
It's been a long time. And the reason that happens is because I found that, you know, working with a certain vendor has just been difficult. You know, every idea that I propose has been shot down, or every conversation that I try to have with the bride or the groom has just been difficult, you know, and I feel like I have a lot of patience when it comes to that stuff, but I do reach a limit and I have to kind of walk away. We've never, I don't think, had to fully involve the couple, I think, on the wedding day. But
so that would be a last resort, was if you have a conflict with a certain vendor, that you would go and chat about it to the couple, because we don't want our work to reflect that we didn't do something properly, or at least to our standards. But we're not able to do that because another vendor was inhibiting us.
We get to learn a lot about what can go wrong and what can be really good. And I think that's probably why couples like to work with us, because they don't have to worry about any friction. I mean, we do argue and we do have our own little tiffs every once in a while.
Stop bickering and work.
I've actually had to pull you outside of a room before, but I mean, at the end of the day, we both are so passionate about what we do and we know each other and what we're trying to get. I think that it's so important that by hiring a team, you're getting that, you know, and by working with vendors who've worked together. I can remember when I first started, I found that very annoying because I wanted people to choose me. I wanted people to take a chance and work with me because I just wanted that opportunity. But there always felt like there was like these little cliques of vendors that were together. But now I get it, right? We totally get it. And the reason why is because not everybody puts as much effort into things that every other person does. And when you find someone who kind of matches your level of professionalism, energy, mindset, and approach to a wedding day, it makes the whole day run so much smoother, and you just actually have a lot of fun. And I think that's the main thing that we've found over the years, is that working with people who have all of those same qualities that we do, we get to be our true, like, creative selves and have this amazing day filled with vendors who are all looking to have this amazing day happen as well for the couple, because we're all on the same page, we all work the same way, and we want this amazing day to unfold as smoothly as we possibly can, versus us having to put out little fires or, like, you know, not do certain things because we don't want to upset this person or whatever. Like, there's none of that happening. We're all working towards the same goal.
Well, that's where the education to our client comes in handy, is when we meet with them. For example, at a meeting earlier today with a potential client, and I told them that our videography style is a certain way. And here are some examples of conflicts that we've seen in the past, because maybe the photographer wasn't given the opportunity to know who I was and how we worked, and they had a specific vision for that day, and here I was disrupting it because I was getting them to do other things, and then it caused a little bit of conflict. But going out the gate and not being shy of telling our couples how we do things and what to expect, I think that is gonna help you more. Then they may not book you because of that specific thing, but at the same time, the couples you do book are going to be more open and will advocate for you on the wedding day, especially if there is a conflict, they're going to be on your side saying, yep, they told me that they're going to do all this, and we obviously hired them, so give them the reins and let them do their thing.
Yeah, figure it out. And I feel like maybe it's just about us being very clear that we just need extra time. I think that's always been, we thought we could just, like, manage it. Like, advice that I would give to somebody who's a videographer or photographer perhaps, and working with new people, is that maybe it's worthwhile either sitting down with them beforehand, or when you meet with the couple to talk about timeline, is making sure that if the photographer says they need an hour for a certain thing, maybe you need to add on 15 minutes, because you want to make sure that there's time for you to get what you need to get as well.
Yeah.
And I think in our case, we've just always thought, like, we can just be so efficient and get both done at the same time. Why do we need to have extra time? Like, that seems like a waste of money. But in that case, I feel like it would have saved us a bit if we just knew that we could say, hey, cool, 15 minutes left, we're going to take over. You get what you want from the side now, because we're going to stand in the good spots. And
you know how many times I've wanted to say that?
Well, babe, this summer. I don't know how else to explain it other than when there's conflict and that starts to happen, it just really makes for a not fun day. And I want to have fun. Like, we want to have fun on a wedding day. That's why we do this. It's not because we do it because it's a job. So for me to have any kind of conflict is like, why? It doesn't need to be like this.
And imagine how the couple feels seeing this happen in front of them. They would be taken away by the fact that your vendors are, you know, butting heads in front of you. They would feel so awkward.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we've ever had, like, full-on arguments, but it's just been, I think that, again, the situation that happened this past summer, it was like the photographer just didn't trust, like, our vision, but the client did. And the client, like, you know, we post a lot on social media, we show a lot of behind the scenes, like us talking, that kind of stuff. So I feel like our clients are set up to understand what we do. And so the client was like, yes, let's do this. But the photographer in this case was like, no, I don't do it this way. And I was just like, oh, okay, like, can we not just do both? Like, you know, like, mine is compromise. Like, let's just do both. Like, the client's on board. Like, I see this cool idea. She loves it, but you don't. Like, can you just do both, right? And then in that situation, it was just sucked, right? Like, she said no. You know, she didn't want to do it. And it just sucks because now it's awkward for the client, it's awkward for me, because she just didn't want to do what we wanted to do. So
another branch of this, as a videographer, I've come into conflict with some DJs in the past. And that's one instance where I've actually had to approach the couple once before, because a ceremony was happening. I started plugging in all of my audio stuff, and I asked the DJ, hey, where can I steal a source? And they told me, I'm not letting you take anything. And that blew me away. This is a company that subcontracts on the day of, essentially. They give them a week's heads up. Here's the name of the couple. Just show up on this day and do your thing. So it's very difficult when you don't have an actual DJ to reach out to. It's just a kind of this umbrella company. I go up to the DJ, asked them to plug in. They said no. And I just went up to the couple and I was honest and I said, listen, the DJ's not letting me plug in. I still have my backup audio that we can use. But if anything fails, that's kind of my fail safe, is to have that. So your video may be compromised because of the decision the DJ is making. And then the couple ended up talking to the DJ. I was able to plug in. I had to go, Mom and Dad, help, help.
But I mean, that was so awkward now. Like the DJ's giving us devil, like pissed off eyes all day and just not excited to work with us, just giving us like the cold shoulder. I mean, that's not fun, right? Like that's just bad business, and that's just like a tiny example of little things that can happen, right? And we run into this issue every single year when it comes to like the lighting situation, and venues want to sort of start dinner at a certain time and their cocktail hour is only supposed to be this long, and we always run into these issues. And I get it, like I totally see that side, but there just needs to be some compromise when it comes to certain things. Like we are all trying to do a good job for these clients. And I think that at the end of the day, people need to understand that. And I'm always coming from a place of like, I just want the absolute best for them. That's it. I don't want them to feel like they didn't get everything that they were hoping they would get out of their day because of something that could have been prevented.
Yeah, like getting called into dinner when the sun is perfect.
The sun is like so perfect.
Yeah.
And we're waiting on somebody to go to the bathroom so that we can do a grand entrance. But then that runs 15 minutes late and we miss it. Like I hate that. That's probably like my number one pet peeve is sunset happening during grand entrance. It drives me crazy.
It's a September to October area when the sun sets at 7-ish and grand entrance is always at 6. So they have to line up at 5:45 when it's the best time to go outside. Here they go, and then they're late, and then we have from 6:30 to 7, which is already kind of past the time that we love doing.
Yeah, especially if there's big trees or big buildings, right? So yeah, these are the little things. I think the last thing that we should touch on though is that how do you build these relationships with vendors so that this way you can work with them again? And I laugh because I built some relationships last year that, they were new vendors to the city. And what I do with every new vendor is I kind of just tell them, hey, this is the way we like to do things. Like, just, I'm letting you know.
So get in line.
Like, sorry, not sorry, but this is kind of what we need you to do. And I laugh because now I've kind of become pretty close with some of these vendors, and we laugh about how I was telling them what to do. But I really just, again, cared so much about that final product that it was important for me to voice some of these things. The way that you build relationships, though, is just by being, I think, yourself, and also realizing and recognizing when somebody does do a good job that you thank them, right? And I think that that's kind of how we've built these relationships, is that we've gone out of our way to make sure that people that we recognize who go above and beyond for their clients, who kind of match our energy in the sense of, their professionalism and their, wanting to have the best outcome and just make things run as smooth as possible. Those vendors are ones that we've really tried to go out of our way to make a relationship for. So whether we take extra photos or videos of them, if we put together a reel with them, or if we're always tagging them, or whatever it is, if we had a really great relationship, which, for instance, there's a DJ that I've known for years but just never really worked with, but got a chance to work with him in 2022. I just bonded with him really quickly because he was just so good at what he did, and he really, even though I was on him to be like, okay, we need this, like, he was just like cool about understanding where I was coming from, that he's obviously known that I've struggled in the past with people who didn't care as much. And so now we've built this relationship, and it's amazing to be able to do that. And I think that that's so important, is that once you find people that just get you and understand you and want the same things as you, that you need to keep building those relationships, because that's how you work with the same people.
Yeah, staying professional. Definitely thanking everyone, or at least even at the end of the night, is saying bye to people.
Yeah.
I think that goes a long way, instead of just packing up your stuff and leaving, which we've seen a lot of other vendors do. But I know we have special relationship with a lot of people because we take that extra time and effort, especially to say bye to the couple.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, everyone.
We've seen that happen.
Yeah, everyone should do that.
Yeah.
But also just visiting all the vendors that you might have, like the bartenders, if they've given us a few drinks, the DJ for just helping us out throughout the night, the planner, obviously, because any kind of scheduling conflicts, if we're moving things around, they're a big part of the day of coordinator, the venue as well. Yeah. If they've accommodated anything, just being there. And you can really tell when some venues care, because we have some coordinators that will like bring us our favorite drinks without even asking.
Yeah.
Especially when we haven't eaten or drank anything in a while. Like after ceremony, we're deep into family photos, and here they just show up, a little Diet Coke just for you.
You know who you are. You know who you are.
But any vendor that's there, even after the ceremony, I have to take the mics off the officiants all the time. And I always say that was a beautiful ceremony, really nice. Sometimes I whisper a little advice in their ear, move out of the first kiss a little faster. Maybe for next time. But it's always nice to just be yourself and be friendly with everyone that you meet, because you never know where the referrals are going to come from.
We hope that this was helpful when it comes to vendor etiquette on a wedding day. We know that it can be a tricky thing to navigate, and I'm sure you all have stories of your own that you've encountered, but know that you are not alone, and hopefully this can help you navigate some future conflicts, because they're probably never going to stop. Let's just be honest here. This is probably going to continue to happen. Hopefully, though, you can find your group of people that you can go to and work with on a regular basis, because once you find your crew, I'm telling you, it is night and day, and it is so much more exciting to show up when you get to work with all your favorite people.
Yeah, it really feels like a group of friends or a family when you get together on a wedding day. I love seeing the vendor lists come from our couples when they book us, and we go, yes, yes, yes. It's going to be a good day.
It makes such a big difference. And even like vendors will be like, oh, wow, we knew you were coming, and like we already told them like they should be excited because you guys are awesome. And so we really appreciate that as well. And we want you to know, like, we will do our best to make sure that we are being as professional as possible. So don't think that for a second that we won't be. But the thing is this is just the reality of what it's like. And hopefully people listening to this will understand that it doesn't need to be this way. You can just be cool.
Yeah, compromise, be professional, respect everyone's roles and space, especially with new roles being created, like the wedding content creator, and how that's going to change the dynamic, because not only are we going to have 1, 2, and 3 different sources of people wanting to get really good shots and videos, and their take on doing TikTok transitions and whatever it is that's going to happen. So it's going to be even more collaboration throughout the whole wedding day. But if you have any issues with anyone, try to compromise as best you can. In the end, you're all there to work for the couple, and that's really the main objective.
So keep on keeping on.
Pow, more finger guns.